may this be one of the best moments of your life. You're listening to the Business Mirror Podcast for a broader look on business with Senior Editor Dennis Estopace.
Good day, I'm Dennis Estopace, and welcome to Wednesdays with John Mangun, a podcast to be anchored by John Mangun, a columnist for the Business Mirror newspaper and who operates a website titled mangunonmarkets.com. Mr. Mangun will share with us one of the many pieces he wrote for his column titled Outside the Box, which is published every Tuesday and Thursday in the op-ed section of the Business Mirror. We hope you enjoy your Wednesday with John Mangun.
It is interesting to see our local press and media thought leaders complain that the Philippine press is not free, and yet they run to the United States as the shining beacon for press freedom. The gold standard if a nation has a free press is the annual report of the Reporters Without Borders. It would be nice to believe that at this international level there would be no bias and everything would be objective and unbiased. Not a chance. For the U.S., ranked 48 out of 180 countries, their conclusion is this: unprecedented violence targets journalists. Of course, the only example is that a gunman entered the Capital Gazette newsroom, a local newspaper in Maryland, killing 4 journalists and one other staffer in a targeted attack on the local newspaper. Reporters Without Borders failed to mention that the perpetrator, Jared Ramos, had been the subject of a crime article 7 years before about his being put on probation for social media harassment. He had sued the paper for defamation and lost, and is alleged to have sent threatening letters to the newspaper for years. Also not mentioned was that the newspaper never reported these letters to the police, nor did they take any legal action. But according to Reporters Without Borders, this event proves that, quote, press freedom has continued to decline. Likewise, their headline is Holding the Line Against Duterte's Attacks, without mentioning that the Philippine ranking, granted, it's in dire need of improvement, was higher in 2017 and 18 than in 2013 and 14. Nonetheless, while no U.S. journalist was killed in the line of duty, the idea that the U.S. is the shining city on the hill of press freedom has been a useful myth since the early 20th, not 21st century. There was a time that the U.S. press was free and vibrant in the earliest 20th century. Even medium-sized cities had 3 or 4 daily newspapers that offered a wide diversity of opinion and bias. That was true until the rise of broadcasting and government control of the airwaves in the 1920s. Increasingly, powerful radio and television under stringent government control blocked competition, rewarded the cooperative, and stifled dissent, which killed genuine free press. The Republican President Herbert Hoover began to use the political power of the press, but it was Franklin Delano Roosevelt that turned the press into a government institution. From 1933 through his death in 1945, which is basically pre-World War II and during World War II, pro-war and pro-welfare program commentators and outlets prospered. Opposition to the war, opposition to welfare, did not. Look at these examples. Walt Disney Studios were occupied by federal troops one day after Pearl Harbor. The editor of the most widely read magazine, the Saturday Evening Post, was quickly replaced with someone more in step with government wartime policies. A journalist for the New Republic magazine, John T. Flynn, was known for his opposition to Roosevelt entering World War II, and he was specifically targeted for censorship by Democrat President Roosevelt. By 1937, the Roosevelt White House had 3 federal agencies investing a radio personality named Boac Carter, who lost his microphone at radio station WCAU. And this silenced the last anti-war radio voice. But, according to the press, President Donald Trump invented the war on the press. While press freedom is guaranteed, access to the mass media of radio and television is controlled with an iron grip in every nation. From a small few to most, depending on the place and time, the press and media have been partners in destroying genuine press freedom. Practitioners and their organizations have put food on the table, and government ultimately holds the purse strings that feeds the press and media. Sometimes being the opposition pays better, and sometimes it is the other way around. I know I sound like a long-haired hippie radical from the 1960s. Maybe I still am. But the 1% is not the rich. It is the government and the establishment. The 99% is always we the people.
Thank you for listening to the Business Mirror podcast. For a broader look on business, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Business Mirror. Until next time.